There's so much movement of people. Last year, more than 100 million people, more than 100 million displaced people in the world. In Ireland, 20% of our population were born outside Ireland. So that's an aspect of our health system. And then we've got other aspects of health outside the things that affect health, like climate change, that affects all of us. So global health it's not particularly about a particular place, it's about how we understand health, that the nature of health is transnational, it crosses boundaries. And so we need to look at health and healthcare with that in mind. And we see too how health is intrinsically related and linked with global development. Poor health affects development. Delayed development affects health. So they're interconnected, and we see that as an important aspect of the globalization of health. And so to me, the globalization of health then calls on us to have a global approach to the way we develop our health systems, our health services, and that, of course, includes the health workforce. And this is a very real thing for us in Ireland, and I think it will be the same in other countries, that nowadays we need to take a global approach in our health services. Firstly, it's in order to do what the mandate of our health service is, which is to deliver high-quality healthcare in our countries. We won't deliver high-quality healthcare if we're not understanding the global context, learning from it, and appreciating and responding to some of the health issues outside that affect us. But it's not just about our own health service, it's also about how we as a country then engage in the world and how we contribute to health in other countries. And that's something we all have a responsibility for, because we're all signed up to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So Ireland we have a commitment there. And that's not about money, that's about what we can share, which is our skills, our experience, our expertise. And then thirdly, we have to work together as countries because we have shared problems that, like climate change, like migration, like pandemics, these can't be addressed just by one country on its own. In Ireland, we have to work with other countries if we're going to respond effectively to these challenges. I like this quote, which I think this man was ahead of his time, more than 100 years ago, said, "Think global, act local." So we all work locally. We work in Ireland or Sudan or Qatar or wherever. But the challenge is, as we work locally, is to think globally and apply that to the way we work so we work more effectively. And the globalized context teaches us a number of things about health and health systems. And I think we appreciated through the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, how we need to have resilient health systems. A lot of our health systems were found to be weak, really, when the threat of COVID came. Even high-income countries across all types of countries. And resilient health systems, part of the health system is the workforce. As WHO would tell us, it's one of the building blocks of a health system. So for resilient health systems, we need a strong workforce, and we can learn. We learn from the global context of what's good practice. We've had a lot in this symposium about what's good practice in training. Well, we learn from the global context, and as one example, WHO has a global strategy on human resources for health. We learn from that. That teaches what's good practice in how we train and educate doctors and health professionals. What's good practice in how we employ and retain health workers? How do we address migration? All these aspects of the health workforce, we don't have to figure these out in isolation. We learn from other countries. We learn from what's practiced internationally. And the global context too reminds us what we're trying to do in training. We're not just training doctors to be doctors. We're training doctors to provide healthcare. What's our goal in healthcare? In the Sustainable Development Goals, we see the goal of healthcare is universal health coverage. In other words, how does everyone get the health they need of good quality without experiencing financial hardship? We need to remind ourselves of that as doctors. There's no point in having lots of well-trained doctors if people are not getting healthcare. We have to make those connections. That was somebody yesterday, I think, made the point about the gap between training and actual healthcare delivery. So we need to always keep that in mind. And the motto of the Sustainable Development Goals, leave no one behind. How do we make sure in Ireland or Sudan that no one is left behind when we're training our doctors? So moving on then, think about postgraduate medical training programs and the need then to respond to the globalization of health. And I think we start to realize that global health is now a core competency for doctors. So yesterday we talked about some of the non-clinical competencies, things like leadership and teamwork and communications. Well, add global health to that. If health is global, then our health workforce needs to be globally competent if they're going to provide good health care. So for Irish doctors, it's not about whether you're interested in working with other countries. If you're working in Ireland, you need to be globally competent. That's what we need for good quality care. And this is now recognized by our training bodies. So we have a forum of postgraduate medical training bodies. That's sort of like the SMSB here. It brings together our 15 different training bodies. And last year they published a new strategy for medical training. And they identified core competencies for all doctors as one of the objectives is to develop curriculum, and they included global health in that. So then what does that look like in practice? So the next, if global health is a competency, well, what is it? What's included in it? So the forum is working on developing a competency framework, and it's about developing competencies all doctors in Ireland undertake comprehensive medical practice in a professional manner in our globalized health context. And this is something that is applicable across all of the different training specialties. And it's something that then needs to be able to be mapped onto the curricula. So we've looked at different models from different countries. We're not the first to be looking at this. That's UK and Canada as examples. And we've come up with, after a lot of consultation, in Ireland, we've come up with the draft Global Health Competency Framework, and now we're sharing this with the training bodies for finalization. And so you see what comes under the framework: global health governance, global epidemiology of diseases, planetary health and sustainability, culture, society and determinants of health, health systems and health professionals. And you can see how under these is a whole different areas. So these are things that are relevant to all doctors, and it's relevant to their practice in Ireland. Whether you're a cardiologist or a dermatologist or a psychiatrist, whatever, these are relevant. And then we translate that into a curriculum. How does that map onto the curriculum in the training bodies? So asking questions like, what is it I would want a doctor working in Ireland to be able to do? What does the competency look like in daily practice, knowledge, skills, attitudes? And then how do you deliver the training? And just a couple of quick examples under governance is legislation and regulation. And you might say, well, what's that got to do with a doctor in a clinical practice? Well, it's relevant. As in just two examples, international health regulations. We need to know how to respond appropriately when there's threats like if it's Ebola or any public health emergency of international concern. We have responsibilities. All doctors need to know what to do if a potential case should arise. And then also we have the code of practice on international recruitment of health workers. That's very relevant to all of us. That's a voluntary code, but it's another part of governance. Another example is climate change. So what's climate change got to do with the doctor's practice? Well, it is relevant. How do we practice in a sustainable way so we're not contributing to the problems of climate change? So what's our role to play in that? So that's developed across all the different aspects. So that now it's now with the training bodies, the next step that each of the training bodies will look at this and see how to incorporate that into their training. So I'll leave that with you as kind of food for thought. And then the last area I want to look at is about the opportunities for international cooperation. Because I think globalization of health means we need to cooperate, work together as countries, but there are also opportunities. And I'd like to say a few things just about the Ireland-Sudan partnership. And we've heard over a couple of days a lot about it, and particularly the SDUI having an important role in organizing this event. But as a model for international cooperation for workforce development. And Ireland and Sudan, we have an agreement, go back to 2017, that provides a framework for how we work together. So the background to this is the long-standing links between our countries. So having a collaboration, it was there. It wasn't something that we just decided, let's have a collaboration. We may have formalized it more recently. But for a long time, our health service has benefited enormously from many doctors coming from Sudan to practice in Ireland. And if you look at the figures, these are from the Irish Medical Council in 2020. that over 1,300 doctors were registered in Ireland in 2020 whose basic medical qualification was in Sudan. More than 1,200 had citizenship, Sudanese citizenship. That is the highest of any country of people registered after Pakistan. So this is much higher than the UK, any European country, America, anywhere. So we're a small country, 5 million population. That's a lot. So we benefit hugely from the service that they deliver. And to me, it doesn't seem like, well, that's not a very uneven relationship. What's the benefit for Sudan? How do we work to try and optimize that so that both countries are benefiting in a maybe more equal way from the links and connections between our countries? So I think it was a very natural thing then to have an agreement, to try and put a structure on the way we work together, to try and foster and develop the collaboration. And to build on the links, because many of the doctors, the Sudanese doctors in Ireland have links back to Sudan. Those links are there, but how do we build on them and how do we strengthen them? So the agreement now signed by the head of the HSE, the Health Service Executive in Ireland, and the Ministry of Health here provides that framework. And then the technical collaboration since 2017 has primarily been with the Sudan Medical Specialization Board. Has been our key technical partner. I'm looking forward on this visit to renewing these agreements, and it's not just the agreements, but it's about then the work we do. So a key part of our visit, this visit with myself and Kira, is that we would be meeting people and looking to develop plans for how that collaboration can strengthen. The collaboration is founded on based very much or following the WHO Code of Practice on International Recruitment of Health Personnel. And this code is not just about recruitment, it's about good workforce planning. For us in Ireland, it means we should plan a workforce so we train enough professionals, enough doctors, and that we retain them, so that we're not creating a situation where we need to be recruiting heavily. And then it's also about, for us in Ireland, how we contribute to strengthening the health workforce in other countries. And it's also about respecting and appreciating the rights of doctors to travel. So doctors from here, Sudan, have every right to come to Ireland and work. And they need to be treated with equality and fairly, and that they have the same opportunities as doctors in Ireland. So different aspects of the code that are important. And it's the way we manage migration of our health workforce, which is a reality in a way that's beneficial to all parties. These are the objectives of collaboration that are in our agreement. And while our work to date has mainly been in the area of training, we hope to develop that in other areas. So we'd like to strengthen in the areas of improving quality and safety of healthcare. So not just training, but how can the collaboration more involved in working together on improving healthcare? How to maximize the benefits of health workforce mobility. But building capacity in healthcare, education, training, and research. So it's not just about doing training and educating, it's about building the capacity, building the systems, working with training organizations, MSB, universities, and so on. And then research is mentioned here. That's come up during this symposium, this really important area to develop. We need research, lots of research to inform good practice, to inform not just a clinical practice, but also how we develop our health services. So that's an area to develop, I think, for our collaboration. And the collaboration is not just about doctors. Mainly our focus has been to date on doctors, but with SDUI having responsibility much more broadly, there are opportunities to develop that nursing, midwifery, allied health professionals. And then the last thing to me is maybe the most key thing. It's the medical diaspora in Ireland that are key to this link, the natural link between our countries. And so and we can think about how we can strengthen opportunities for links. And I mean, there's many doctors here working in Ireland, but they come back to Sudan working here and involved in various initiatives. That's really all part of this collaboration. So the final thing I think to talk about is a particular component of the Ireland-Sudan collaboration, which is what's called the International Medical Graduate Training Initiative. I know this is something that is valued a lot here, which is the opportunity for Sudanese doctors to come to Ireland for 2 years to do for specialist training. They do it as part of their specialist training here. They're training as specialists. They come and they enter into a training program, and then they come back to Sudan. And the idea of that is, well, of course, we benefit in Ireland because good doctors are coming and doing good work in Ireland. That's great for us. It should benefit the doctors themselves because they're getting, hopefully, high-quality training, and that would benefit their career development and enhance their skills. And also benefit Sudan because the idea is then that they come back and contribute to improve care in Sudan. And it's only 2 countries that are part of this program. It's Sudan and Pakistan. And these are a few slides I got from Dr. Brian Kinnairns, who's the director of the National Doctors Training and Planning Unit in Ireland, which manages the program. And he was highlighting, and these slides highlighting how this program is to benefit all sides. It's in Ireland. It's beneficial when our doctors, who are the non-consultant doctors, are trainees, are working training programs. That's good for our health service, improves the quality of care. And having a structured way of bringing in doctors is very good. It helps with planning of the workforce. So this started in 2017, not that long ago. 1 doctor, 1 specialty. Now it's grown, and just in the last month, 41 doctors have completed that 14 of the last batch. That's the last 2 batches have just finished their program, and now we've 27 due to come in 2023. So you can draw a graph, you can see which way it's going, and hopefully continuing to go up. And I think the message from the program in Ireland is that it's well established in the health service. It's a good model for us. There's the opportunity for it to grow in terms of the number of specialties, number of doctors, and in other ways as well. And this slide is just to show how it fits in with our own health workforce planning. And in our health service, we have 2/3 of our doctors working in hospitals are non-consultant doctors. And we would like them to be mainly doctors in trainees, doctors who are in training programs. And currently, the trend has been in the wrong direction. The proportion of doctors who are not in training programs has actually gone up, in part because of things like the European Working Time Directive. So I think the ambition is to try and reverse that, is that over the next number of years, as the number of doctors in our health service grows, there will be more doctors in training posts, and that will create opportunities for doctors from other countries who are part of this initiative. So I think a lot of opportunity through this, the collaboration to strengthen this. And it's something that works because of the close work between all the different stakeholders involved. And clearly the key stakeholder here is the SMSB. So I'll finish there, and my conclusions are just really remind you what I've covered, and that the point that globalization of health calls for a global approach to our health services, our health systems, our workforce. We need to respond to that in the postgraduate training. We need our doctors to be competent in global health. And there are opportunities to expand international collaborations and cooperation. And that's what we seek to do through the Ireland-Sudan partnership, and look forward to opportunities for that to develop. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Weeklim, for your very comprehensive presentation. It just demonstrates the importance of the global health approach and the close collaboration that we have with Sudan, which we're very proud of. I'd like to introduce next Professor Tom O'Connor. He's a registered nurse tutor, and is a committed nurse academic with many years' experience in nursing and midwifery training. Professor O'Connor has clinical practice experience in the Netherlands, Australia and Ireland. He holds a Bachelor in Nursing Studies from the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland, higher diploma in advanced nursing, and an education doctorate. Professor O'Connor is the Director of Academic Affairs in the RCSI School of Nursing and Midwifery. He will now present on international collaboration in postgraduate training. Welcome, Professor O'Connor.
Thank you very much, Ciara. And thank you very much to the organising committee for inviting me to speak to the conference. It's a great honour to be here in Sudan and to address the conference. There are many people here who have spent time in Ireland or who indeed live in Ireland, so you'll know that we speak a particular form of the English language, which is not always the slowest or the most understandable. So if I'm speaking too fast, please don't be afraid to slow me down. So what I'm going to talk about today is developing postgraduate nursing education and training, and I suppose it follows nicely on from David's talk in terms of the global situation in relation to nursing and how that affects our profession. So I'm going to look at nursing and midwifery and developing practice globally, the role of education in advancing practice, key enablers and challenges, and I'm going to look a little bit at international collaboration and talk a little bit about a project which brought us here, if you like, to Sudan, a project that we in RCSI have been doing with a university here in Sudan. So firstly, just to look at nursing and midwifery as a profession and a global snapshot of it. So nurses and midwives account for 59% of the global health professions. So we're the largest profession, if you like, involved in health, and this equates to 28 million nursing personnel on a global density of 37 nurses per 10,000 population. This, of course, varies greatly by region. So, for example, there are almost 10 times more nurses in the Americas than in the African region, with 83.4 and 88.7 per 10,000 respectively. And estimates across Africa indicate that nurses and midwives represent about 42% of all health workers, including community health workers. And then, it may sound like a very sort of fundamental question or a strange question to ask. The data from around the world shows us that the idea of actually what is a nurse or indeed a midwife is somewhat contested, and it's not a straightforward question to answer. And there are a variety of educational pathways to practice with the title nurse. And there's also a variety of higher education and specialist qualifications which lead to additional different titles and roles for nurses. And so the data suggests that there are 144 distinct titles of nurses around the world that require licensing, examinations, specialist and advanced practice training. And you'll see there from the graph on the right hand side that, you know, particularly in the Americas and European region, there's been a proliferation of these different titles and different designations of what it is to be a nurse or indeed a midwife. And you see that right across the globe. So it is, you know, something that is on the face of it seems a very fundamental question to ask, but it's actually not easy to answer. And this morning we had a session with our gynecology and obstetrics colleagues, and exactly the same things pertains in terms of midwifery, in terms of trying to define what's a midwifery, what the basic standard of training is for midwives, and that varies greatly here and also globally. So it's something that needs to be addressed. So then, looking at nursing roles now and in the future, and the WHO did a large report on nursing in 2020 to coincide with the International Year for the nurse and midwife, and they emphasise in their report that nurses are central to achievement of health-related sustainable development goals, obviously Sustainable Development Goal 3, but also in areas such as education, gender, decent work and economic growth. So nurses also have a contribution to make in those areas as well. And then thinking about what is it, you know, that actually nurses and midwives do, and what is it that they will do in the future. Well, when they look at that, when the WHO look at that, they sort of distill it down, if you like, into these three main areas. So it's about universal health coverage, and you'll see it there in the diagram, about, you know, providing primary care, providing care in hospitals, all those sorts of activities. Managing health and well-being, so working through the different parts of, those things. And then lastly, dealing with emergencies, epidemics and disasters. So in terms of the broad thrust of what nurses are doing, that can be captured, if you like, in those three broad areas. And then nurses within that, working within a multidisciplinary team. Specialization and developing specialization and advancing nursing practice. Again, there is a proliferation of things that have happened here across the globe and across different continents in terms of how that has happened. So the International Council of Nurses have put some definitions and tried to capture this and try to define what does it mean to be an advanced nursing practitioner or a specialist in nursing. So they talk about that it has the following characteristics. So they are practitioners of nursing providing safe and competent patient care that have their foundation in nursing education. Having roles or levels of practice which require formal education beyond the preparation of the generalist nurse. So beyond that minimum entry level, usually to a master's degree. Having roles or level of practice with increased levels of competency and capability that are measurable beyond that of a generalist nurse. So it's not just about the things they can do, but it's competencies and capabilities. Having acquired the ability to explain the theoretical, empirical, ethical, legal caregiving and the professional development it requires for advancing nursing practice. Having defined APN competencies and standards which are periodically reviewed for maintaining currency in practice, and lastly are influenced by the global social, political, economic and technological. Define what sort of things are involved in advanced nursing practice. So you might ask then, what are the benefits to actually, trying to train nurses to a higher level, trying to increase the education that nurses would receive and participate in? And you might say, as a nurse, I would say that it's a good idea, but there is research out there as well to actually demonstrate that it is beneficial. So we see in a Cochrane review by Laurent and colleagues in 2018, where in primary care they compared nurses' work to doctors' work. And not that this, and I don't portray this as a competition. This is not a competition to see who can do what better, but it's an attempt to see, well, if nurses act in advanced roles in primary care, this research is looking at, well, what are the patient outcomes? What does it do for the patients in these cases? And you'll see, I'm not going to read down through all the things in the slide here, but you'll see in a lot of areas in relation to clinical patient outcomes, consultation times, prescriptions, all sorts of things like that. There's little or no difference between how a nurse provides the care and how a doctor provides the care. So that tells us that there is a role there for nurses in that regard. Other research findings indicate that patients who were cared for by a nurse who has a higher qualification, who has a degree prepared or above, is less likely to die, face lower healthcare costs. And that was principally from a very large study done by Linda Aiken and colleagues in Europe, where they looked at the outcomes for patients based on the nursing qualifications or the qualifications that nurses had in those contexts. The other thing that arises strongly from this research is the fact that nurses are often not practicing to the limit of their competence. They're not practicing to the limit of what they actually can do, and in some respects, sometimes nurses are trained or specialized, and they're actually not using the full scope of practice that they could in that regard. And that's something for all of us then, if we're underutilizing any health care, any health profession resource, that's something we need to think about. Key stakeholders then in all of this, obviously nurses then nurses and midwives themselves as part of the multidisciplinary team. And when we think about the key stakeholders in advancing practice and changing things around, it's about the buy-in from the different stakeholders, and how you can move policy levers and influence whether there's uptake in this regard. So obviously for nurses and midwives themselves, there can be incentives to advance practice. Those incentives in our part of the world can be financial incentives, they can be career aspiration incentives, or they can be simply incentives to practice in a more advanced way. But those things have to be recognized, and we have to work on those in order to actually sustain a system where we are going to advance nursing practice. We have to have buy-in and support training bodies. So universities, right across the world, have to be in a position to support advanced training for nurses and midwives. Regulation is a very important factor. So the regulation of professions, the professional regulation that exists in many countries, is something that is very much has to govern and has to set out in many cases the scope of advanced nursing practice. So it's very important the regulators as well are on board in this regard. And then lastly and importantly, government and policy makers. So all of this can't happen without policy drives and policy levers to ensure that, again, we're getting the most out of the workforce that we have, and in this case in terms of nurses and midwives. And all of this then obviously with the patient at the centre in terms of how is this going to benefit and how is it going to benefit their health outcomes. So then just to look a little bit at the role of education in advancing practice. So again, if just a sort of a global snapshot again, if you look at the entry-level education globally for nurses and midwives, so you'll see that generally speaking, a program that leads to designation or registration as a nurse and midwife is somewhere between 3 and 4 years. In some cases it's shorter, in Africa, in the Eastern Mediterranean, in the Western Pacific. In some places it's slightly longer, where there's longer programs in that case, but generally 3 to 4 years is the time that is seen as appropriate to train a nurse to that basic entry level, if you like. But obviously that varies greatly, in particular regions and in different places. And then if we look at the sort of the general thrust of how education has developed right across the globe, there's been, if you like, there are two main sort of ways in which education is provided at that entry level. Traditionally, and this would have held for almost globally, nurses were trained in an apprenticeship style certificate or diploma type environment, where the emphasis was on clinical skills, task orientation. So that would have been the traditional model of nursing education, and that pertained, right the way throughout the world, indeed and pertained in Ireland, the UK, and the Americas. And then on the other side, then you have the higher degrees, the bachelor's, university-based education, which is more common now right across the world. And the emphasis there is more, and I know you've been talking quite a lot about it in this conference, about the softer skills indeed for medicine as well, on things like leadership, case management, patient outcomes in diverse settings, research and critical thinking. So in terms of advancing practice, if we follow a linear route from either of these areas, it can be limiting in some ways. So if we, for example, just add a number of clinical skills to a nurse's repertoire of what they can do, that may be beneficial in terms of care delivery to one point, but it is limited. How many skills do you add on, and how much are you actually going to achieve by saying, well, you can do 10 more skills or 20 more skills or whatever that may be. Similarly, if you take nurses completely out of the practice environment, put them into the university environment, have them in there doing very theoretical work, well then they're lost to practice. Okay, their clinical skills become not as sharp as they could be. So it's somewhere in the middle then that advanced practice really sits, is in developing clinical capabilities and competencies, but also those higher order skills in terms of leadership, critical thinking, ability to research, ability to actually use evidence-based practice. So key enablers and challenges in terms of nursing specialization. So enablers are things like regulatory frameworks, which I've mentioned already, and that's both in terms of academic frameworks and in terms of the progression of nurses in advanced roles, and professional frameworks then to allow for this, and crucially setting out scopes of practice for advanced practitioners. Funding for education is a huge thing in terms of being able to access education and the ability of nurses and midwives to actually access this education that's provided. Political will obviously is needed to see this through and say, well, okay, this is something that we need to do. And I know, again, just in the discussions we had this morning around the formation of a nursing and midwifery regulatory body here in Sudan, that's something that very much rests in the political sphere at this time, and something that needs to be pushed forward. We need willing higher education partners. We need expert clinician involvement and placements. And we need visibility of those who are in advanced roles and role models for others to look to and see, well, this is something that I can do. Key challenges then are obviously the absence of all the enablers above. And this is something that David spoke to very strongly, is the idea of migration, and nurse migration in particular. And I've had a lot of conversations in the last couple of days around this point exactly. So a lot of people said to me, well, if we train our nurses more highly here in Sudan, they're all going to go elsewhere. They're all going to go to Saudi Arabia or to the UAE or to Qatar, whatever that may be. And to a certain extent, that's true. Okay, there will be, in the same way as that happens for medicine, there will be migration, and there is migration. It's a global problem. In Ireland, we have a good system of training, higher education for nurses, and we still can't hold on to them either. We're losing them to Australia, to the US, and to Canada. So it's a global circular problem, and as David has pointed out, it's something that we all have to look at together. And it's not a reason not to do it. It's not a reason, well, if we train them higher, they're all go, so let's not do it. That's not going to add up for any of us anywhere in the world. Okay, so it's about incentivizing people to stay if you can, and working on retention. And it is certainly in nursing a numbers game. You have to keep training people. You have to have you have to have critical mass. Obviously, then lack of recognition, financial, working conditions, status, and stuff like that affects this as well. So just a little bit about the Irish context, and I won't dwell on this for too long. So the Irish context is, in terms of the entry level to nursing, we have 5 points of entry onto the register in nursing. We have a unified Nursing and Midwifery Board of Ireland, which registered nurses and midwives. We have children's and genders integrated, general nursing, intellectual disabilities, mental health and psychiatric nursing, and midwifery. So those are the 5 entry points at bachelor's degree level to nursing in Ireland. Our training is in line with the EU directives at 4,600 hours, and as I said, since 2002 it's a bachelor's programme. What that looks like in terms of education then, provider like ourselves in the RCSI, we're involved in postgraduate education and training for nurses. So we sort of provide education at 3 levels. We have a bridging system for those who haven't yet gone to BSc level, who wish to progress. We have early postgraduate training at postgraduate diploma level and postgraduate certificate level for those who are moving into specialist areas. And then career mastery level to master's, PhD, advanced nurse practitioner levels. So the training and education revolves around those 3 areas. And this is just to give you an idea of the range of specialities that we provide ourselves in RCSI, and you can see that ranges from acute care to care in the community to care in very specialized contexts. And key characteristics of that sort of training, what it looks like, and for us, and I guess this holds again in other places, it has to be accessible. In our case, it's digitally led, so that's the trend in the Western world now, is that education is more and more leveraging the benefits of digitally led education and online education. It's designed for working professionals. In this case, it has to be flexible, step on, step off type opportunities for nurses in order to allow them to be able to participate fully in education. It's clinically focused, and Again, to that point, I think I can't emphasize that enough. Any training that moves in the direction of being completely theoretical for any of our professions is not going to serve us well. So we have to retain that clinical focus and work on that strongly. So it's about enhancing abilities in clinical practice, but also enhancing those criticality and higher order skills. And again, just to give an example of the types of education we provide, some of it is special purpose. For example, we have a course which trains nurses and midwives in prescribing. Some of it is very specialist focused, so we have a program that deals specifically with nurses who work in sexual assault and forensic nursing, and then some of it is broader in nature in terms of advanced nurse practice in a variety of different areas. So lastly then, I just want to talk a little bit about, as I said, what brought us here to Sudan as a school of nursing in the first place. So through some funding through SDUI Ireland, which David and Ciara are involved in, we have a project with AFAD University for Women, and the goal of this project was to promote undergraduate nursing education at AFAD with the reciprocal exposures of healthcare professions from Ireland and Sudan together. So the objective was to develop a BSc curriculum in nursing addressing the needs of the Sudanese patients for quality healthcare, to capacitate clinical training of students in specialised fields, and look at approaches in Ireland and Sudan, and to avail of learning resources that might be available, including nursing simulation laboratories. This is obviously aimed at helping Sudan to meet their objectives in relation to ensuring health and lives, and to promote well-being of all ages. So you can see here the needs that were identified, and again, you know, some of these statistics were certainly, from my perspective, and I think they're still fairly accurate. So the nursing workforce deficit as identified here is about 52,000 nurses or 53,000 nurses, which is a huge amount, and almost 17,000 midwives. Currently there are 48 schools providing approximately 2,000 graduates per year. When you compare that to Ireland, we produce 1,600 graduates a year. So, and we've, you know, much less of a population, 8-fold less population. And so you can see then the thrust of this project was to avail of learning resources supporting nursing education, including SIMS labs and those types of activities, and to really create a curriculum that was, you know, something different in terms of what was here before. So the approach in which we've taken with our colleagues in AFAD is we had initial meetings online due to the pandemic, sharing of views of expertise in terms of curriculum development and initial drafting of a 5-year honours Bachelor's of Nursing programme, 10 semesters. We assembled a panel of experts from different parts of the world, from Turkey, from Ireland, from Saudi Arabia and from Australia, to give a view on this in the global context of a curriculum like this and how it might work, and they give very good feedback in that regard. And a team from AFAD visited us in Dublin in October last year to further draft and align to international framework. And so the learnings and future plans, so again, this is the benefit, and you know, it's been talked about here quite a lot about the benefit of wider international collaboration. While the context may be very different and the priorities for the development of nursing education remain the same, the principles of what we're about remain the same, doesn't matter where it is. Importance of good institutional fit when we're doing these projects. I think we've come to a very good relationship with AFAD in this regard, and we've agreed to work together to apply for further funding to facilitate the further development and delivery of this program and rollout of this program in a range of areas. So those are the areas that I've looked at, and thanks very much for your attention. Thank you.
The next speaker, Professor Iman Mahmoud. Professor Iman is Professor of Pathology and Global Health Program Director, Storr University, and in the College of Osteopathic Medicine. Professor Iman is an active member of SAPA. She is going to address the issue of the role of diaspora in postgraduate medical training.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم. Let me begin by my talk by saying thank you very much for the organizers. Thank you very much for the organizers of the symposium for the invitation, and thank you all for being here today. So it's interesting that I have been asked to present the topic of the role of diaspora in postgraduate training, and it's been exemplified this week in action by this novel and seminal effort of this symposium. So I do hope that I can add something new to the existing knowledge that we gained in the past few days, and especially that we gained today from the speakers. So my presentation is going to, or the message is actually going to be focused on a little bit on the why and more on the how, and less on the what, because we have seen it today. Not yet? Okay. خلاص؟ Okay. So recently, strengthening the graduate medical education through collaboration, specifically North-South collaborative efforts, has been evaluated and revisited extensively because of the emerging emphasis on decolonization of global health. A recent review, reviewing the articles and the efforts, different studies and the efforts that were done as an example of North-South collaborative models, 3 themes were identified. The first one is the Western bias, and the second, cultural differences and the third is sustainability. The Western bias and the cultural differences came to be one of the themes that were brought in different models as barriers. While the key to developing successful collaboration was the quality and the nature and the duration of the relationship between the two or the parties involved, and that led to the sustainability. So by looking at the outcome and the analysis of all these models that have been done by different institutions and different organizations, North-South collaboration, we can examine and we can reach the conclusion that it's not surprising that the potential of the diaspora role is great and more than what we expected, as they can relate more easily to the local context, to the culture and the practices of the homeland population, and thus they can develop more of a sustainable collaboration. And not only that they can do that independently, but they actually accelerate and synergize efforts that are done by other Northern institutions. I would like at this point to highlight the catalytic attributes of the Sudanese diaspora. And this is part of a review that we were doing recently to look at the different African diaspora in the USA. The Sudanese diaspora is, although young, that is with the first, second generation, they are coming up, yet it is a mature one in the profession and the expertise. Some it's not a young diaspora in the sense that they have exhibited long-term durability and efficacy, such as the one in the UK and the US. At the individual level, the Sudanese diaspora, they have a diverse area of expertise spanning a broad spectrum of specialities. And although they are dispersed across the globe, they are still, they might have gained or obtained their sense of identity and belonging, might have been shaped by their new home, yet they remain well connected and maintain a strong link with Sudan, the institution, and their fellow colleagues. And we have witnessed this very strongly in this last week. The question to answer now remained is, how can these diaspora contribute to the medical graduate education? So the collaboration between these diasporas and the institutions of graduate education in Sudan have taken several forms, and they have evolved over time. And the structural differences of this relationship have been driven by the channels through which the initiatives were made, the communication, who knows whom, the type of the institution, the diaspora body itself, and not to forget the political and the socio-economic environment. Sometimes the project themselves dictate the outcome of the collaboration and the sustainability. So in order for me to reach to the big answer of how this can be done, I would like to share with you briefly one focused pilot that we have been carrying for the past 3 years with the Sudanese Medical Specialty Board, and that is targeting research, particularly research in residency. And this pilot, it is also part of a prospective study. This pilot also enables us to elaborate on the how, to identify the moderators, to identify the facilitators, how utilizing diaspora can overcome the contextual barriers that are present, and that pilot can be replicated in other similar interventions should it prove to clarify and elucidate the different challenges and the enablers. So the pilot is the MERCY project or MERCY initiative. It doesn't matter the name really. I always say it's a tool rather than a body, and that stands for Medical Education and Research Strengthening. It began in 2021 as particularly for SAPA. It began as an ambassadors initiative. Ambassador Sati, who requested how about focusing on research? But as they say, great minds think alike. Several other groups were actually also looking at the same work, and so somehow we all came together, and we ended up to have one single pilot, and that is the research in residency focus. Because of the, this is just a list of names, and it's not just to show you the names, but to point out to something that we learned in the process is that people, when we say the diaspora, they might come from specific organization, well established. They might come from informal groups, and they might come as individuals who are interested. So whenever we say the diaspora professionals, they actually may or may not be part of the of an established organization. In fact, one of the most prominent member of the faculty or of the team of this project is actually came as an individual expert. So for us to begin this project, because of the diversity of the expertise that we had in the team, we were able to apply both operational and implementation science into our efforts. So we began by meeting with the leadership of the Sudanese Medical Specialty Board, Professor Rashid, and also Ahmed Al-Safi, and we developed the concept note, and that followed by a sort of a capacity landscape analysis, which were carried at both at the organizational level and at the individual level. So we looked at the residents, and we had, with a survey, we obtained the primary data to show us what are the enablers and the obstacles or the barriers to carry out the research. And you can see here actually something that was very much elaborated yesterday by Professor Ilham, that is the financial aspect of during the residency plays a very important role on how we deliver material and how we interact with this particular group. This gave us primary data, which we were able to classify it into individual, institutional, and organizational level. And then we began by just making the logic model. And this is just a diagram, by the way, just right from the file, so it is not manicured. So we developed we sat down, we identified the activities, the indicators, and we decided what are the targets and what exactly we want to learn out from this particular experience. So, so far since 2001, we are delivering consistently the research basic concept and tools for the resident. We were only delivering the course to one particular group, but right now we expanded. And then we found out that from our survey and our analysis, situational analysis, that the thesis, that the supervision is actually also another factor. So we established a supervision course, and now there is an extension also towards evidence-based medicine based on the request of the Sudanese Medical Specialty Board. One of the outcomes, immediate outcomes that came out, or products, is the provision of a guideline for best practice for thesis supervision, and the outcome also, another outcome was the survey that was done for the cohort 2021. We assessed the immediate outcome and output through a study about whether they learned the new material, whether they applied the material, and so forth. And this immediate outcome was presented by Dr. Thanal Agra in an international conference in Ghana in the last June. For the cohort of 2022 forward, we started actually to focus on the process evaluation, because this is what we really want to know in order to answer the question of today's topic, is that how the postgraduate, how the diaspora can actually contribute to the postgraduate education. So we began with the process evaluation. We were interested in identifying particularly the moderators, the factors that increase or decrease the influence of the strategy on the outcome. So what we did was we were guided by the framework of the consolidated framework of implementation science, KFIR, which enabled us to identify the 5 domains by which we can establish a very valid survey. And that survey described all the characteristic features of the process within those previous domains. And the idea is to find out how utilizing the diaspora actually, or how these factors were changed by utilizing the diaspora in contrast to non-diaspora intervention. So the results of the work or of the survey came out with different themes, which actually emphasized the uniqueness and the strength of utilizing the diaspora in such programs or interventions. First of all, the increased confidence, the relevancy to local context due to the experience of the instructors. That was a very common theme that came from the survey. The availability, commitment, and eagerness to help by the instructors, and that shows the sense of commitment and responsibility that is present among the members of the diaspora towards the homeland. The time management made possible and active learning and component and learning opportunities. The diversity of the learning opportunities were done considering the current situation for the overload for the residents. The use of technology, Zoom and the WhatsApp, and now we also have additional LMS system that was provided to us by a group also in the diaspora. And then finally, the use of simple language and explaining key concepts in Arabic. This was really one of the biggest facilitator of the project. And so that shows also another aspect, because at the end of the day, you want to show why use the diaspora, why you don't use others, but you prefer to use the diaspora. What are the main reasons or the main factors that the diaspora are going to provide? And then a factor also that was actually essential is the buy-in from the Sudanese Medical Specialty Board. Although I was surprised, it wasn't mentioned yesterday at all in the discussion, but the facilitation and the partnership with the Sudanese Medical Specialty Board and the presence of the members like Dr. Thana Al-Agra and Dr. Ashraf in the and their participation, contribution in the design actually was a big factor. This is actually while we were doing the analysis, we were given this as a roadmap, and that is the recommendation from the Sudanese Medical Specialty Board itself on what is the gap, what are the gaps. And so we were actually able to address these gaps at the organizational level. And so anything that is highlighted and bolded and checked means that it was actually an immediate byproduct from our intervention. So this project actually showed us or made us move forward to answer the big question, and that is, in order to establish a robust cooperation, to build the synergies between all these institutions and accelerate also our all shared objectives. Each of these organizations has a shared objective, and also as individuals. And so to accelerate all this and to in line with what we witnessed this week, and to bring all our efforts to effective scale, and in a very important, in an inclusive manner and a synergistic manner at the same time. The first step is we have to, in any project, we have to create a database or a map for coordination and collaboration, and for us to actually be able to address or direct or to guide our resources into the right direction on where it is exactly needed. The second thing is to have the database for the professional diaspora, because in all the literature that was reviewed about the effect of diaspora and how they carry their projects, there is a scarcity of information. And Dr. Sarah might agree with this, is that this is a very much needed information regarding the diaspora, specifically for Sudan, as a first step to be effective towards making any changes through the diaspora. And after this, these two steps, then we move to the big how, and that is to create a formal consortium, a formal platform, a web-based platform or any form to be based on three principles. First, inclusivity, inclusivity of everyone in the diaspora, really, that has something to offer. whether it's an organization or a non-formal group or individuals, because as I said, in the past 2 years or 3 years, one person who was actually giving constant lectures to the residents on literature review and reference management happened to have been awarded one of the best 200 scientists in the world last month. And he's not a member of any organization, and he's an individual. That's the inclusivity. Accessibility, everybody who wants to contribute comes forward, like this professor, right? Everybody should be able to go to one side for the diaspora and say, I can do this, okay? Include me in. Equity from the beneficiaries. So the beneficiaries, they have to be all over, peripheral institutions, right, or central institutions. They have to be capable of coming and saying, this is what I need, right? And then the synergism of all, and that's best exemplified in this symposium. And the other thing is that when we do this, when we create such a platform, we're actually going to address several, يعني نضرب كم عصافير كثيرة جدا بحجر واحد. We are actually going to make ourselves a cohesive body by which we can generate knowledge. And as the previous speaker said, we, collectively, we can provide the platform for trainers and trainees to come in, to people to benefit, to create new knowledge that is very much needed right now. If anyone goes into the literature, they will see that this knowledge is very much needed, particularly in implementation science. We have seen that there are so many things, guidelines produced outside, approaches or projects that are made in the north, and there is always concern about the context. How can we apply this here? This in itself is a new knowledge. When you actually create this implementation feedback. So once we said, as I said, once you build this platform, you can leverage resources, you can match the resources in a very practical and efficient way. And also, you can share access. Organizations can exchange the models, and they say, this works and this doesn't work. And at the same time, organizations will maintain their identity. And this is not difficult. On the other side, on the other hand, institutions, public institutions in Sudan dealing with graduate education or undergrad should buy in, right? And also coordinate and facilitate. And this is all under the principle that the diaspora are contributing and not substituting. So the must do for all this to happen is, one, to follow through. And we all know, and this is best exemplified by the Sudanese doctor of Ireland, is that it's their follow through that actually made this week event to happen. A need assessment is very important to be better prepared and allocate resources, and then develop metrics. We cannot emphasize enough the importance of having metrics to assess the impact of the diaspora. Why? Because everybody is looking at the diaspora now. Those who, because right now, who can come and does a project like this but the diaspora? أنا شخصياً, when I came, they told me the State Department said Sudan is the level of 4. You cannot travel. We cannot do any projects there. So, but the only people who came are the diaspora. So we have to develop metrics and disseminate our work widely using these metrics to provide evidence that our work, produces a result. And that in turn will ensure funding, as you all know. And there are success stories for an approach like this, although it is in diaspora related. And the best example is the African Forum for Research and Education in Health, the AfriHealth. The AfriHealth, when it started as a medical education partnership initiative between universities, right? It was a project. It was just a project. And so then it moved into creation, the universities, those universities that were involved, and they said, no, if we want to have an impact, if we want to actually get all these funds support, to support our efforts, then we must create one single platform. And then they created the AfriHealth. The one that's coming now is the COPAM, the Consortium of Pan-African Medical Diaspora, is the same thing, is a same unified body. And that bodies, and as I said, these bodies, it will not take the identity of the individual bodies. The sum of all is just better than the sum of one. So the ultimate goal is to create the long-term contribution by the diaspora, but that can be shared with the rest of the world. It's not enough to be shared with us, especially with the major development agencies who have, and NGOs who have commissioned initiatives to seeking to better harness the diaspora development or role in the development of their homeland. So I think we can redirect our drain into gain. I know this is a little bit of cliche, lakin I am sure, and I'm certain, as we are all certain, that if we just follow through and play it right, I think we can make a big difference. And I hope that I delivered to the organizers of this conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Iman, and I am sure you did actually. The next speaker and the last speaker in this session, Dr. Alauddin Al-Malik. Dr. Ala is the senior physician in neurorehabilitation in Royal Melbourne Hospital, and is the senior clinical fellow in the Faculty of Medicine, University of Melbourne, and currently the president of SAMPA. Alauddin is going to tell us about the integration of postgraduate medical training.
I think it's my luck to be the last one, where the blood is driven away from the brain. So just please be Abdul Hafiz, mashallah, صاحبي هناك كويس جدا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Dear guest from Ireland and distinguished professors, all my professors, my colleague from the different organization, and I think special thanks to the students here, and special thanks to the two people who came with me from Australia, which is far away from here, like 20 hours from Dubai. So thanks to Nandi and thanks to Ibrahim. And myself. So I'll say good morning because it's 1 o'clock in Melbourne. So if I fall asleep, please excuse me. And it's 3 o'clock in Auckland, in New Zealand. So I think in the printed program is معتز بهجيل. معتز قد السلك وخلاني أنا أقدم التوك وقايته حاخدها منه معلش. Initially the thought was about integration or integrated postgraduate training, but I thought of presenting integrated care model of service. So currently we're working in Royal Melbourne Hospital, which is the largest and the oldest hospital in Victoria. Victoria is the second and the oldest state in Australia. Royal Melbourne Hospital established in 1700, and it has a hub for a lot of research, connected to the University of Melbourne, and recently has been with the Comprehensive Cancer Center, this one. So it's, the cost of that was $1 billion, so spent on the cost of this building. Yeah, if you took part of that, that would be nice. So today I'm going to talk about introduction, cancer surgery, and survival and outcome in elderly. So as we know, cancer is still a big problem. Global cancer burden is significant, increasing 1 in 6 deaths with cancer. And in 2018, 18 million. In 2040, expected to be 29 million. The cost of that is huge. For example, in the United States, it's 2.7 billion, and in other countries, sometimes it's more. If we look at the different, the burden by different cancer, we can see that the breast is a huge burden, but when it comes to the number of deaths in 2020, lung has scored higher. In Australia, the disease burden of cancer is huge, but we have very good system of screening, pre-hospital screening program, and I'm going to talk about a new model that involve pre-hospital, after screening, pre-hospital optimization of health to prepare the patient for surgery or for chemotherapy or radiotherapy, and after that, improve the health outcome, optimize health status, and reduce the risk, the stay in hospital. 2015, 15.2 million with cancer, 80% of these require surgery, so a huge number. Less than 25% of cancer patients have access to safe, affordable, and timely surgery. Early death after cancer surgery, significantly higher in low resources country. Surgical procedure is invasive, and we can imagine that in patients who are already have comorbidity like cancer, this morbidity and mortality will be higher. So if we look here, so this for the breast cancer, and we can see that the low-income or middle-income countries, huge burden, and if you compare that with the colorectal cancer and gastric cancer, is still higher, but in breast cancer is more. So what we did, with our oncologists and surgical oncologists, oncological surgeon, we set a model. That model include a multidisciplinary team, including rehabilitation physician, physiotherapist, anesthetist, and sometimes have cardiologists. We do full assessment of the patient to see that if they are suitable for surgery, and which include cardiopulmonary assessment, which include nutrition assessment, psychological assessment. We prepare them for surgery if surgery is indicated, or if there is high risk of surgery, then we advise the surgeon to look at other alternatives. That process is, from the beginning, involve something called shared decision making. So we get the patient in, we sit with the anesthetist, with the surgeon, and we talk to the patient, and we come up with the decision. Number one, patient aware of the surgery, patient aware of indication, and patient consent, have an informed consent to the surgery and aware of the complications, and then after that we'll proceed. So it's a clinical triaging. This is the mainstay here. And then after that, we identify modifiable risk, and we work on the risk, whether cardiopulmonary or whether skeletal or other. So if we look at the range of impairments that can occur in a cancer patient, it ranges from pain, fatigue, weakness, and general, and then there is specific, like pathological fracture from bone metastasis or effect of brain metastasis or CNS pulses. So this is the continuum of cancer care, from prevention, screening, diagnosis, treatment, survivorship, and end of life. So all these people work together. They have a regular meeting, and they have communication between them and between them and the patient. The patient is one active member of the team. So the role of rehabilitation here is optimize functional outcome. And if you look at the, I'll have a slide about that. It was the WHO ICF model. Now they're talking about not just morbidity and mortality, but are talking about function. So it's to reduce mortality, reduce morbidity, and improve function. I'm just skipping through this in the interest of time. So as I said, medical assessment, risk stratification, and we do cardiopulmonary exercise test, and we do psychological assessment, which includes the DAS. DAS is the depression, anxiety, and stress test. And nutritionally, we measure the weight, height, BMI, malnutrition scale, MST, and we do some assessment looking at the frailty, and psychological assessment, psychosocial, I mean, and clean fit. Clean fit has been a new outcome measure validated, endorsed by the WHO. And the aim of using all this in the pre-rehab is to reduce complication, reduce length of stay, and enhance fitness, cognition, nutrition, and improve quality of life and recovery. If we look at other countries, like Switzerland, like Italy, that has many studies done there, 29 in Switzerland and 10 in Italy and other countries as well. A systematic review was done for functional outcome for cancer patients, and a systematic review of the systematic review was done, and 362 studies were analyzed, and they found that the number of a study of functional domain, like a huge one in health-related quality of life. This is a sample of the study we have done in our center. What are the challenges in cancer rehab? Number one, known barriers, access barriers, and adherence barriers. Adherence barriers need a lot of motivation and need to speak with the patient about fear of injury and fatigue and illness. So at the moment, and I just talk about what David talked about the healthcare system. Australia consider relatively is universal healthcare system, which accessible, affordable, but after the COVID, I think people start talking about flexible. Flexible to be able to deal with any pandemic in the future, and as David said that, now we need to be communicating with each other as well. And what's the value of having health system like that for the patient and financially affordable as well? In order to do that, we need to look at the feedback from the patient. feedback of patients, there are two items here. One of them is a patient-reported outcome measures, which abbreviated in PROMs, and also the patient-reported experience measures. And in patient experience, they're talking more about satisfaction now, more than just experience. Healthcare system becoming very expensive. And if you see here in 2021, you know, this is in billion, like $30.5 billion spent on health. So now they're talking about what's called value-based healthcare system, is what the value to the patient, what the value to the hospital, what's the value to the country. So when you ask the patient what's important for them, is they want to ensure that they have a swift and accurate, appropriately delivered diagnosis, and improve information sharing, support. And the patient come to you and say to you, I want to know my disease because I want to take the decision whether to continue having this or to refuse. So informed consent is very important, and make integrated multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary care quality of all patients, and address financial implication of cancer. We are conducting a study at the moment between Royal Melbourne Hospital and BETAMAC, and BETAMAC is a comprehensive cancer center, and this study will start in March. So this is the ICF model of WHO, as I said. So the health condition which affect the activities, and health condition can affect your body function, body structure, and impair your ability to carry out activities, impair your ability to participate. There's environmental factors, personal factors, and as my colleague before mentioned, now they have implemented or introduced the cultural and religious and factors as important. For example, we have patients before in the ward, and the complaint came from the nutrition. The nutrition is that this patient is refusing food. Maybe he's depressed or something, but no one has identified that it was Ramadan. So I think cultural and religious aspect to be considered. I put Muhammad Faisal here. He's not here. Muhammad Faisal is يعتبر الجندي المجهول وراء كل هذه المؤتمر. يعني محمد فيصل بعض مرات الصباح بدري، الصباح بالليل. صراحة نحن هنا ممكن ما نهتم هو الساعة عنده كم، لكن لما رسلوه حاجة عايزين نعملها. Muhammad Faisal was a cornerstone in this conference, and as the same like everyone else in the other union, SDUI, SDUK, and SABA, and Qatar, and Australia, and New Zealand. And thank you all, and we wish next time we'll have more people with us, and next time we all do this thing together. And I think the most important message from here is that we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the speakers for very informative, educative presentations that addressed important issues in training in a globalized world, in collaboration of training, the role of diaspora, and integration of postgraduate medical training. And I think those presentation, I'm sure they're going to raise a lot of questions, but probably you're lagging a bit of time, but I think the floor there have got 4 issues and probably 4 or 5 questions to be addressed from the floor.
Thank you, Professor Suleiman. I see a number of hands up. I think you were first. Would you like to bring the mic over there? Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think the presentations of today are integratory and complementary for the presentations of yesterday. We can come to a very good conclusions, and we benefited so much. Thank you very much, Dr. Ayman. I used to, more than 20 years to come and participate in teaching in undergraduates, regional universities from Al-Fashir to Damazin to Dongola, and I used to teach pathology. And we started with a small WhatsApp group that everyone in his vacation can arrange and come and make some postgraduate and undergraduate participation in the training. And last year we have also an online conference for 2 years, I think, about the participations of the abroad doctors here in training, in especially in the different universities, attended by so many university managers. Yesterday, my brother Jafar Misawi admitted a talk here about the training in the subspecialty rheumatology. When we were children, we used to quarrel so much, but now we are getting old and we have to reach such a compromise and see a peaceful settlement. And we must do and reach such compromise between quality and quantity. Yesterday, he criticized that training so much rheumatology doctors, but I think now we are in need of as much as trained doctors for the different regional hospitals and universities as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. The next, Doctor.
Assalamu alaikum. Just to introduce myself, my name is Murtada Muhammad. I'm a gynecologist working in Ireland. And this is for David, about the Sudanese working in Ireland. I went to Ireland 30 years ago as a gynecologist now. And I'm a classmate of Mr. Suleiman and Prof. Fahal, and I look younger than them. David, there is a lot of Sudanese who came to Ireland and they work with me. And sadly, it's a service job rather than a training job. And they were so frustrated. Very few of them, they're so lucky, and they're high flyer, and they got consultant job in Ireland. Most of them, they get frustrated and they travel to the UK, and there is more opportunity. The last, or not the least of them, they stayed in Ireland and they're doing the same thing. What I hope from this is you have a criteria to select a good caliber to go to Ireland, so that they went from here straight to a training job rather than a service job. They went there and they landed is taking blood, doing consent, and that frustrated them. And most of them, they came here back to square one. So what you need is a criteria for to select not only on the OET or passing the IELTS, it's knowing about the culture of Ireland, knowing about the names. Most of them, they come there, very poor communication. The name, there is a city called or town called Sligo, and they mention him Sligo. They don't know how to even know to pronounce the name of Quiver or Siobhan. They get to struggle to know these names, really. And I think what you need is, before these guys travel to Ireland, some of the HSEs would come here, give them the history of Ireland, give them how to pronounce the name there, and to educate them about the culture of Ireland and the rugby football. So when they come there, we have a good idea about Ireland. They work with me. I work with a lot of Sudanese. They came and worked with an SHO, a registrar, and I can tell you, most of them, they went to the UK and the United States. And I hope this will do something for them before they go from here. Thank you.
Well, start with shukran للdiaspora. Thank you. I think your contribution is highly valued. You have done really great thing in this meeting. And I have just, I mean, a few weeks ago also we had the same thing. So really thanks. I think your contribution is really great. It's unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't really imagine this. So to start with, thanks David Wickham, thanks Tom O'Connor, thanks Nazik, and thank Ala. I think this session is has been really great. Well, I was in Ireland actually, I think the first batch, 1976, and we were just 10 of us at that time. But this thing has flourished, and I'm sure at one time, most of the cities here are covered by Syrians who have been trained in Ireland. But things now, I think, got more probably objective, because now we have a very official thing. So we have a panel in Ireland, and I hope this is going to improve things, as Hamad said, headed by Mr. Majid, Dr. Majid, who is an obstetrician, and with members from all the specialties, to put things probably in its context. But I think in general, I mean, global health, as David said, is a reality. And actually the flow back of diaspora, the flow back actually of migrants, have made a great change. I mean, if somebody did study on people who have come back and their contribution to the medical education and health service is really noticeable, I think. You can't imagine the number of medical schools in this country which cannot be really being work without having this flow back from different places. But I think your collaboration can really make a difference. And as you know, the medical education in Sudan started very early, 1924, from the Faculty of Medicine, University of Khartoum, and postgraduate studies started in 1953 in the diploma in obstetrics and gynecology. So now it is 70 years. We have just been celebrating yesterday 100 years for the midwifery school. So are really deeply rooted in this thing. So really we salute them. The Sudanese Specialization Board, which has been created in 1995, yes, and at that time it was going parallel with the postgraduate medical education, which is started also in University of Khartoum, 1978, with Professor Bilal. 2004, we have this unified body, which is offering an MD in 4 specialties early in 78. Now we have more than 50, almost 60 degrees. We offer MDs 4 to 6 years, and now we have the post-MD fellowships. I think this is actually done for the health needs. I mean, now we have just started probably a curriculum for GI, fellowship in surgery, and probably renal transplant will be soon. And this actually, we need, I mean, the help actually from the diaspora. Specifically now we are discussing this with our friends in Ireland, so that it will be injected as part of the post-MD fellowship, which usually be around 2 years. And this contribute not only the health services, but also actually for the retention of the staff. When I say the retention, I don't mean somebody who has graduated and then qualified and stayed forever. This is not now. Nothing can happen like this. And it is beneficial actually when you go abroad and bring some experience, not only in medicine, but I think several cultural aspects. You see the experience of other people, socially, politically, and many other things. I think this will be reflected back here. So we are very welcoming actually for what you said, global health is a reality now. And David, I think also we have included the health professional in our board now. We have already changing the name of Sudan Medical Specialization Board to Sudan Medical Health Okay, so the health to include other things. We have already the dental and the pharmacy, but now we are concentrating on the health professional, and I think this is the area will probably be needed your help on this area, because special nursing in ICUs, in cardiology, in nephrology, I think, and it has been neglected for a long time. I mean, nursing hasn't really get their strong grounds in this country, but I think now we are starting to put it as a very important point in the service and the education. Well, thank you. I don't want to extend, but thank you for actually coming and helping us.
Thank you very much. I see another question at the back there, Doctor. Thank you, Fatima.
Thank you very much for this elegant session. Ihab Tarawa, intensivist at Soba University Hospital. I would like to mention two experiences. I was supported by diaspora when we had to do our first desensitization. We had a poor lady, but she has no way other to do desensitization from insulin allergy here, and we get a great support from our colleague in UK and Ireland. And I also would like to mention when we had skill transfer, we had a team coming from US, from SAMA for free lab transfer. So they came multiple sessions, and at the end, our local colleagues are able to do the activity. I think to move forward, we need to capitalize our physical and human resource asset, and we need to be task specific, and we have to assess the urgency and the impact, feasibility, cost effectiveness. In addition to this, we need to go and to grow. I guess this event is great. It's a birth of great collaboration between different people in different countries and local people here. And it's also, it's a birth of continuous collaboration. Yes, we need to progress with that process.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. It's very difficult, obviously, to speak after Mr. Rashid and Professor Ihab, but what I would like to say again, congratulations for the organization. Hopefully this will be a start so we all work together. I think this is the main message, because when we work together, I think the outcome and the input will be great. But thank you, David, Tom, and good luck with the Lahfad, Iman, and Ala. What I would like to say about Iman's session, there is a lot of lack of information about the diaspora. We're working with the IOM now to understand who are the diaspora, what they can do, and how they can help. And maybe one of the recommendations is to have a policy, because we are one of the few countries that we don't have a policy for diaspora engagement. We don't have a policy in Sudan, we don't have a policy, for example, in the UK, there is a policy in the US, so we are not utilizing our resources to the maximum, and I think that's very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have time for a couple of more questions. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Dina Omar. I'm head of partnership at the General Directorate of Quality, Federal Ministry of Health. Actually, I just want to acknowledge the efforts of diaspora, because I'm the owner of ECHO Project Patient Safety that Dr. Omnia has been presenting. I'm so sorry, I'm just a little bit nervous. But it's really important to acknowledge the efforts, because of Dr. Mu'taz and because of Sama and because of Dr. Renada Fadul, we couldn't even do our project. We couldn't even try to minimize the gap of knowledge about patient safety. So thank you, diaspora, for your efforts. Thank you so much for inspiring generations.
طيب مساء الخير جميعا. وائل عبدو, إيرلندا. I'm just gonna ask Connor, Tom, David, and Kira just to allow me to speak in Arabic for the next few minutes, if you don't mind. شكرا جزيلا اللجنة المنظمة للمؤتمر السنوي الرابع SAS4 وسيمز. أفتكر أنه الأيام الفاتت دي ورت حجم لما يكون في إرادة ومؤسسية حجم الشغل ممكن يكون كيف. أنا شخصيا أنا عارف أنتم مريت عليكم الكلمات بتاعت الشكر والترحاب في ال 48 ساعة الفاتت، لكن بس داير أكد على إنه الأجسام الخمسة اللي أنتم شايفينها بالتعاون مع حاضرين وجمعية الجهاز الهضمي، وحقول الشخوص ما بالأسامي، حقول عبد الحفيظ ممثل لتجمع الأطباء السودانيين في أمريكا، ممثل للقيادة للبورد اوف تراستي، ممثل للعضوية. وحقول شكرا لأماني خليفة، ما في شخصها بس، في شخصها وفي رابطة الأطباء السودانيين في قطر. وحقول لعلاء الملك أستاذنا، ممثل في شخصه وفي زوجته الكريمة وفي لجنته التنفيذية وفي كل عضوية جمعية سودانية للأطباء السودانيين بنيوزيلندا واستراليا. وحشكر الشقيقة الكبرى في شخص أخي وصديقي غسان الفاتح، ممثل للهيئة النقابية للأطباء السودانيين بالمملكة المتحدة. أنا أفتكر أنه حجم الإنجاز أكبر من أنه يوصف، والتحية للأساتذة الأجلاء والسبيكرز على مستوى عالي جدا اللي قدموا محتوى علمي وأكاديمي. لكن المهم في ده كله ما بس المحتوى. انتم متخيلين انه الناس اللي واقفين على ضفتي القاعة دي والجايين من 5 ولا 6 دول مختلفة بالتعاون مع الناس الروابط الأطباء، روابط الطلبة في جامعة الخرطوم والأحفاد والرباط الوطني، بتفتكروا انهم كانوا دائما على اتفاق. انا اقول لكم واكد لكم على العكس تماما. الناس دي لما تتقفل الانوار ويقفلوا البيبان وراهم بيتشاكلوا بيطبحوا بعض، لانه ما لازم نكون دائما على كلمه سواء، لكن دائما لما يكون الهم واحد والملل مشترك بتجي اعمال جميله زي دي. انا افتكر من المهم جدا انه التزامنا تجاه قضايا التدريب والصحه في السودان يكون مستمر، ودي عنصر اساسي وهم شاغل مستمر لكل الأطباء السودانيين المهاجرين في الخارج، ما بس لأنه أي حاجة، لأننا كلنا جينا مرينا بنفس الحتة اللي أنتم فيها دي. وأنا أفتكر إنه الشعارات الخمسة دي ناقصة شعار، أنا بفتكر إنه شعار نقابة أطباء السودان. وبفتكر إنه المرحلة الجاية، وأذكركم كلكم من الأطباء وكلكم من الناس المهتمين بالأمر والما مهتمين بالأمر، الجمعة والسبت اللي بعد الجاي 10 و11 مارس انتخابات اللجنة التمهيدية لأطباء السودان. الشعار ده عشان يتحقق دايرين SAS 6 5 ما بنوعدكم نكون هنا، SAS 6 يكون في السودان، ويكون الشعار السادس مع شعار ناس ناظم وناس عبد المنعم تحتهم يكون شعار نقابة أطباء السودان. ما بس كده ما في كولابوريشن، ما في تعاون بيقدر يتحقق من غير اصحاب المصلحه الاصليين يكونوا جزء شريك فيه، وما دايرين وسطاء بيننا وبين اصحاب المصلحه الحقيقيه، ما دايرين بروكر، ما دايرين سماسره، دايرين اطباء السودان بلجنات بلجان تمثلهم بنقابه تمثلهم يكونوا موجودين. ما حشكر اصدقائي في ايرلندا ولا اصدقائي في امريكا ولا اصدقائي في قطر ولا اصدقائي في استراليا ولا ناظم سراج ولا استاذنا عبد المنعم، حشكركم انتم، لانه من غيركم الحاجه دي ما كان ممكن يكون لها اي اثر ولا اي جدوى. وكلمه اخيره، دايرين نكون هنا في 2026 25 بمحتوى قصيده الراحل محمد عبد الحي الليله يستقبلني اهلي، خيل تحجر في دائرة النار وترقص بالأجراس وبالديباج، امرأة تفتح باب النهر وتدعو من ظلمات الجبل الصامت والأحراج، حراس اللغة المملكة الزرقاء المملكة البيضاء، هذا يسطع في جلد الفهد وهذا يسطع في قمصان الماء، الليلة يستقبلني أهلي. شكرا جزيلا.
شكرا.
دكتور الخاتم رئيس المجلس الطبي السوداني.
Good afternoon, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, elderly and young. Maybe a little bit conservative, and that's why I used to use close marking system. And previously my rating to the diaspora, 51. So it's positive rating, but it's 51. Having attended and listened to all this presentation of high quality, I think my rating now will be very high, a rate of a distinction, 80 plus. So the positive contribution is basically qualitative. And it's high time that the diaspora should be admitted to the club of the health system. The motion is we, the participants, endorse this motion that the health system of the Sudan include the Ministry of Health, Higher Education, Sudan Medical Supervisory Board, and diaspora as well. Which means that in the future, the sustainability of all the efforts will be included. This group will be included in the shaping of the health system of the Sudan. As from today, I've got two suggestions, practical suggestions, that a task force or a group, working group, led by the diaspora, should review all the research which have been conducted and sort out which one we can depend on in the future and build our policies and future trust, and which one to be discarded. Because as I can see, so many of the documents, as they are called research documents, maybe do not satisfy the requirements of a respectable research. And I told my friend, Professor Ahmed Fahal, this before, and if we can sort all those, particularly those which are done by the registrars, because there are a lot of difficulties, a lot of shortcomings and constraints which distract from the authenticity of those research products. So the two tasks is classification of the research that are being conducted, and secondly, to supervise future research. Because apparently it's quite obvious that they can give more time, they are very well, well versed, and so on and so on. These are the two suggestions, and the three comments I made before. Most important of which is that inclusion of diaspora as one of the partners and the pillars of the health system of Sudan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, دائما اللحظات الجميلة it has an end يعني. نحن اللجنة المنظمة. والله Professor Ahmed في special request إنه
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think the effort of the diaspora and the role cannot be overemphasized. I think the issue was well covered, acknowledged by the previous speakers. But we are all tired here in the country, and we'd like to have some people to be retained in the homeland so that they can contribute. They can train themselves outside the country, have good experience, good knowledge, and come back to develop things here. But being outside the country for life, This is going to be very helpful for the people who are retained here. I'm speaking from my own experience. I have never went outside the country. I went to England for my postgraduate, and I came back, and I managed to be trained by WHO for clinical trial conduct, and we publish in international journals, and also we are changing the guidelines for infectious diseases, especially leishmaniasis, mycetoma, and so on. We are here in Sudan, but we are very, very well recognized internationally. So don't worry at all. Don't worry. You will be recognized, and at the end of the day, they have something to do for your homeland. Let us be very transparent. We all know that it's very difficult. We cannot leave our country just to be. So I don't like to say that I need 50% of you to come back. 10% will be enough. We are the graduate of 1994 from the School of Medicine, University of Khartoum, and we are now only 10 retained in the country. My colleague here, Professor Ihab Trawa, is now doing a great job in intensive care medicine in the country. He's training people all over the places, from Niala to Port Sudan. And I think this is a recognition that cannot be even, bought by money. So I'm also working at the Institute of Endemic Diseases, well recognized worldwide, and now starting collaboration with NIH. Those people in the States, they don't collaborate with people unless they know that they are competent. So thanks late Professor Hassan that exposed us to other people. So now I think Professor Rashid Ahmed Abdullah is leading the collaboration in the training of and so on, together in collaboration with Irish counterparts. So this is also paving the way for some people to come back and to help him, because he is already tired. He is sleeping only 4 hours, I can tell you. And we are in need of him to do more than what he is already doing. We are killing him, by the way. So I'm addressing this gathering just to ask for, yes, we acknowledge the training us, training our junior staff, helping every people. But what we want some of you to be physically in the theaters here, in the wards here, managing faculties here. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we bring this session to an end, may I ask the representative of 3 medical student associations, Khartoum, Al-Ribat, to come forward. Al-Ahfad, Al-Ribat, Al-Khartoum. Okay.
Yes, I just want to have a few talk, yes.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the organizing committee and everyone who has taken part in this successful symposium. I just want to talk about a diaspora who didn't actually exist here physically, but had a great impact on my life and on the life of many of my fellow colleagues. He actually didn't ask for anything in return. He empowered us. He has given us his knowledge. He has empowered us in various ways. He didn't ask us for anything in return other than that spreading what he have given healthcare providers in Sudan, and he has formed a center with a vision to transform the healthcare center in Sudan. And he just asked us to help the younger generations actually he has given us. Here, familiar faces of people through which he has had an impact on. So actually, I'm calling again for the diaspora to invest in the younger generations. On behalf of the younger generations, I would like to say, empower us, mentor us, invest in us. We got the potential actually to make the difference.
Now, I think it is time to listen to the main beneficiary of this, of those sessions. That's my few words from the representative of medical students associations.
Assalamu alaikum. If I may speak briefly in Arabic, my name is Mu'taz Salah ad-Din, and I am رئيس رابطة طلاب كلية الطب جامعة الرباط الوطني, the president of the student council of the National Rabat University, and the acting president of the Rabat Medical Student Association. First of all, I'd like to thank all the participants and all the attendees for allowing me to speak in front of this highly honorable and respectful audience. There wasn't a day that I would imagine that I'd speak in front of an audience whom I have only heard about in books. Second of all, I would like to take a chance to thank all the people who helped in organizing this event and allowing us to partake in organizing this event at the level of the National Rabat University. For we organized the vascular and the orthopedic pre-symposium workshops, and truly it was a magnificent opportunity. Furthermore, here in the National Rabat University, specifically in the Rabat Medical Student Association, we value knowledge in all its aspects and prospects, especially in the research and the evidence-based medicine. Given this opportunity, we were able to contact a lot of personnel who are invested in these topics. And we highly encourage the exchange of informations that we have obtained, and we will definitely make sure to exchange these informations with the upcoming generations. Furthermore, we are always looking for opportunities upon which we can empower the youth for next generation, for true change in the medical system and the healthcare system of Sudan starts from the youth. And I'd like to quote one of my mentors for his vision, especially at Tababa. Change is to transformation of the healthcare system, not change, but transformation, because transformation is more sustainable. And I'd like to thank all my colleagues at the National Rabat University and the representative of the executive board here. Thank you all for your efforts, and thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you so much. So hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Salma Ismot. I'm the Vice President of External Affairs in Ahfad Medical Students Association. So first of all, I start by expressing that it was extremely joyful and educational couple of days. I truly want to thank the doctors' unions outside Sudan and Hadirin Organization and the National Center of Gastroenterology and Liver Disease, and every single individual and body who worked in delivering this scientific program in the highest possible quality. So thank you so much for providing us with this opportunity to organize your scientific program. The association, since its establishment, has been working day by night to equip the medical students of Ahfad University with the needed skills and knowledge to lead the change within their communities and continuously develop personal and occupational wise in the fields of human rights, public health, sexual and reproductive health and rights, professional exchange and research, and medical education. Again, we want to acknowledge the opportunity on behalf of every single student in Ahfad and the team of OCs. I want to thank them all for the punctuality. I also want to state that we are honored by this collaboration and we are completely open for future ones, as we believe that our goals are all aligned, which is to improve the situation of health in Sudan by creating medical staff. Thank you so much.
السلام عليكم. محمد يوسف، ممثل رابطة طلاب الطب جامعة الخرطوم. First of all, I want to thank all the attendees, all the organizing committee, لشغل الأيام اللي فاتت والورشة قبل المؤتمر. برضو, I want to thank the organizer for giving us this opportunity to present KMSA in the best way it can. رابطة طلاب الطب جامعة الخرطوم. أنا وهنا واقف قدامكم I'm feeling pressure عديل يعني لأنه أنا بمثل في النهاية بتاريخ عريق يمتد من 1954. تمثيل ممتاز لكل الطلاب في حول العالم. صراحة إنه أكون قاعد في المكان ده حاليا presenting KMSA يعني I should present it in the best way I can. طيب عموما رابطة طلاب الطب جامعة الخرطوم رابطة نشر جديد في كل المجالات المختلفة من تبادل طلابي من أقسام علاجية لمختلف أنحاء السودان. الحاجة دي رجع لها من سنة 1954. كل طلابكم كل أبنائكم الموجودين هنا قدامكم شفتوهم هم عبارة عن طلبة مجتهدين كل يوم صباح مساء بحاولوا يطوروا في روحهم لكن لشنو؟ يطوروا روحهم عشان يطوروا البلد. تمام؟ I think إنه دكتور وائل قال حاجة مهمة شديد إنه أكثر ناس نحن ممكن نشكرهم هم الناس الحاضرين الموجودين هنا لأنهم هم ناس مهتمين فعلا بتطوير السودان. thank you all for attending for being يعني شايلين هم الوطن زي ما بيقولوا. دي صور تم التقاطها خلال قافلة اليوم العلاجي بدل في عيج. كان فيها مشاركة من من ديليجيتس من أنحاء العالم. تمام. آخر حاجة أكلمكم عنها إنه we want to have connections, we want to have collaborations. نحن أولادكم وأبنائكم موجودين هنا قدامكم زي ما قلت لكم أكدت لكم زي ما شايفين organizing committee من كل الجامعات كانوا مجتهدين صباح ومساء عشان يكون الحاجة ظاهرة بأكثر كواليتي ممكنة. الحاجة اللي نحن كلنا شايلينها من الوطن. فإذا ما كان في collaborations زي ما قلنا ما في يد واحدة بتصفق سواء كنا نحن طلبة وأنتم كخريجين وكدكاترة بروفيسورات وكضيوف أعزاء من مختلف الدول. السودان محتاج لنا في النهاية كلنا. I just want في النهاية عايز بس يعني to appreciate روح محمد كمال عبد المعروف اللي كانت توفى في السنة الفائتة. I want to have this لحظة إن شاء الله. Thank you. If you want to connect with more us, you can scan a QR code and you have all the links to all accounts. شكرا شديد يا جماعة.
Thank you very much. But I can't resist before leaving this place and being the president of the Sudanese Society of Gastroenterology to remember who actually represent what we have been doing for the last 2 days. He represents a nation, he represents a profession. Professor Shakir Zain Al-Abdin alayhi rahmatullah. And I've taken the sum up for what all we have been talking in the last few days resemble Professor Shakir Al-Abdin alayhi rahmatullah. With this, we bring this session to an end. And everybody is saying 2 words, sustainability and partnership between all the groups. And I think this is what we should be working for in the coming 2 years. And I hope that they had been well said, that the next meeting will be really different. And I think that it will represent actual implementation of most what we have been doing for the last 2 days. Thank you very much for the organizer. I leave the floor for you, for the organizing committee, for their final remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the Irish contingent that has arrived here, even though we have a lot of honorary Irish representatives as well, to allow us this opportunity to meet and engage with you and to see how our collaborations are working, and we hope that we will develop, and there's great potential for the future for future collaborations. Thank you very much.
Wow, what a success. I'm speechless actually, like there's nothing I can say, like
appreciate every effort from everybody in this room. The final or closing remarks will be divided into two parts. The first part would be presented by Mr. Yasser Taib from Sudanese Doctor Union of Ireland and David Wickham from Global Health Ireland. Do you mind just coming?
Well, what to say after all that? I think we've heard most of the conclusions from you at the end of that session, and I'm very heartened by what I've heard. The commitment, the passion, I think the common desire for better health for people. So that's the good outcome, I think, for me for this conference that probably supersedes anything else I might say about the last couple of days. But to make just a few reflections, I'm privileged to be here, and with thanks again for the opportunity. This has been, I think, a unique event. I heard someone in the last session talk about novel and seminal. That bringing together, I think, the strength of Sudanese medical community in Sudan, along with the diaspora from a number of different countries. And that together, I think, has been very powerful, and it's proven an event of great depth and really been a great learning and sharing experience. And along with the uniqueness, I think it's an event of high quality. And I was very impressed. I think was particularly good. And I think one of its strengths was, I think, with the combination of the skills workshops and then the symposium. Because we heard yesterday that training it's not just about knowledge, it's also about skills and attitudes. And I think having that combination has been very rich with so many people, with so many workshops, so many participants. That's, I think, been a week of great knowledge sharing, but also great learning for skills development. I think there's been a very valuable spotlight on training. That's been the theme of the symposium, but covering so many aspects of it. You know, yesterday we were talking about the theory, what's the evidence of good practice in training, you know, how do we do it, how do we go about improving knowledge, skills and attitudes, and the application of it. There are different ways in which that's being applied. I think that's very valuable, whether you're a trainer or a trainee, it's for all of us to take away. And I think this morning, the opportunities that people had to present research. And I think research came out as something of really important for us, along with training and education. And it was good to hear people present evidence of good practice and to hear, and young doctors, and good to see that's seeing the importance of that as part of our training and part of the contribution to improving practice. So I think so many good things we reflect on. And at the end, I hope that and think that this event is a springboard for various things, a springboard for future events like this. I think this has been such a good learning event that I think it will inspire people, I think, to do this again. I think it's a springboard for greater collaboration. I think bringing together people from the diaspora in different countries along with people here to deepen that collaboration between the countries, greater involvement of the diaspora, but also recognizing, as was pointed out, that it's not just about contributions for people from other countries, but how that can really strengthen services here, and how that can deepen that will want to stay here, and that it will contribute to building up capacity here. So somebody just said there, go and grow. I think that's a good few words to take away. And my final comment is just to congratulate the organizers for putting on such an excellent event, and to thank you for your participation.
Thank you. Thank you, David. As Mr. Rashid said, we are speechless. First thing I would say, this exceeded our expectations. We spent more than 4 months over the Zoom meetings, worried about everything. As I said before, early hours, Dr. Ala in Australia, evening time for Prof. Fahal and Dr. Abdulmunim Al-Taib and Qatar Group. So we are very proud that we have achieved this. And let me start with people on the back, right there, the registration office that works with Dr. Abdulmunim. They spend day and night trying to sort out registration for more than 2,000 healthcare workers for the workshops. And more than 300 attendance to this conference. So a huge applaud to them. Medical students and junior medical doctors, they all contributed to every single preparation for the workshops. They were there. We never asked them too many things. They were ready and prepared, and they would have a very bright future. Thanks to everyone, as I said before, middle grade, to the consultants, to distinguished professors who spent all these 2 days here giving their advices and presenting their expert talks. And many thanks to the group from outside, our distinguished guest from Ireland, from UK during the workshops, and thanks for coming here and continuing the collaboration, trying to help down the line the training in Sudan. So I would like to assure you that we will continue collaboration. We will continue for Sudanese system. We'll continue supporting the training and education. So during the break, we sat as representative of the 5 bodies and the organizing committee. And we had a chat. First of all, we were all pleased with what we have achieved. From workshops, the wide variety, the numbers of trainers and trainees and people involved. And then we came up with a witnessed by Mr. Rashid and Dr. Abdulmunim. First thing I would like to announce that the Sudanese International Medical Symposium will be in Sudan every 2 years. We are going to rotate the presidency for the conference between those 5 bodies. We're forming a professional faculty from the 5 bodies to coordinate the academic support for Sudan and Sudan institutions. Now, we are 5 bodies, but we're going to be inclusive to all doctors and healthcare workers abroad and after having a SIMS board approval. Everyone will get a certificate from our website, www.sdui.online. Once you finish, but just bear in mind that it is a bit of a slow process, the team in Ireland, and I would give many thanks to Dr. Khalid Marghani. He's an orthopedic surgeon who, not like me, an orthopedic surgeon, knowing nothing about IT, but he created a website and he developed all these registration process and workshops and everything. Many thanks and a huge applaud to Khalid Marghani. Finally, the final report will follow and will be published after full assessment and review of the conference. And thanks again for everyone.
Okay, it seems it's coming to an end now. But before we conclude, I think there are two winners for our best poster and best oral presentations that we have and present the prizes to them. Before doing that, it's just a message to Imad from Atababa, Muhammad from Khartoum University Medical Association, Salma from Ahfad, and Muhtaz from Arabat. We do believe in you, and we're here for you because we think you are the future of this country. May I ask the representative of the 5 bodies to join us on the stage here, please? May I ask Nazim Sraj and Mehmet Taib to join us on the stage? May I ask Ruan from Hadrin to join us on the stage? And Asma, Amna, Zainab, Malaz, Minna, Hassan, Hamid Jafar, Anas, Samah. These are the people who took the responsibility of making this happen. We had appreciation on the first day on the opening ceremony, and there are 3 people that need to be honored today. Professor Rashid Ahmed Abdullah, President of the Sudan Medical Specialization Board. We just have a small thing here for you, if you don't mind, Professor, just take it. Can I just get it? And also for Tom O'Connor and for Zena Martin. If you don't mind, Tom, just take Zena's one because she's not here. Okay, good too. Professor Rashid for Sudan Medical Specialization Board. Okay, so time to announce the winners. It was tough, and I do she's not here. Yeah, Connor. Okay, that's fine. High quality of researchers, and thank you to Taha here. He's the chair of the academic committee who look after the abstract selections. It was a tough and hard job to do. The judge selected 1 winner for the oral presentation, which is Dr. Abrar Mohammed, for her work for in silico approach for identification prediction of AMBD1 gene SNPs associated with myelin-related immunotherapy. She's a winner of $200 prize and the shield from you. The best poster presentation prize goes to Dr. Muhammad al-Mustafa Abdul Jawad Dahab. Study of suicide ideation and attempts among HIV patients in Omdurman National Voluntary Counseling and Testing Center. Yeah, he's the winner of $100 prize at the Conference Shield. As I said it earlier, it was a tough competition, and the judge decided to give another prize as motivation to a clinical research, because like the one that's selected for the best oral presentation prize, I think it's a high-tech kind of research. So Mr. Abdurrahman al-Nasri decided to give a €100 prize to Dr. Al-Fatih Hasabu. He presented two high-quality abstracts today, great methodology and very nice presentation. Well, we're now coming to an end. Thank you to your support. See you in 2 years' time, and let's move together for the best of the country. Thank you. So, may I ask you for a favor before you leave? We just want to take a picture for everybody. If you could join us here, please, if you can, I would appreciate it.